Back in 2010, alongside the release of the greatest movie of all time, a cartoon short was created and released on AdultSwim.com called Scott Pilgrim vs. the Animation, a 3-minute short that covered events in the comic that took place before the movie, and it was awesome. Myself, as well as every other Scott Pilgrim fan, wanted more, maybe a full cartoon to adapt the books, and there was nothing for many years, until one day an anime was announced. The full cast would be returning to voice their characters, with the movie director Edgar Wright as executive producer. I can't put into words how excited I was when this was announced. I followed the author Brian Lee O'Malley on Instagram. He would post updates and information on the show, saying that he wrote a new story, something different from the movie and the comics, while still kind of like keeping the same identity. And I really like the mindset behind that. I mean, why make the same thing again when you have the opportunity to make something new and expand? And that's pretty much what they did. We got a beautifully animated show, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. In this video, I'll just be ranting and going over things I liked and disliked about the show. And a reminder, this is just my opinion. First off, I wouldn't say it's a complete departure from the previous stories. All of the characters return, alongside the locations and the main stuff like the fights in the League of X's, who are now pretty much the main focus. They get a lot of more screen time, and so do the side characters, and this is great. So what did I think about the comedy? It's okay, it's decent. I didn't find all the jokes funny, but I'd say I enjoyed the majority of them. And I appreciated the callbacks and lines from the movie. The voice acting is great. All returning cast members' performances were on point, especially Michael Cera as Scott. I like how in this performance he made Scott feel more animated. He actually feels like a cartoon character. I think his portrayal and the character of Scott Pilgrim is the best thing about the show. One of the main reasons I love the movie and the comic, and the episodes that he is in are great, which is why I don't love this show. Let me go into more detail. The first episode is very similar story-wise to the original material. Scott meets Ramona, they go on a date, he invites her to the rocket, where Matthew Patel appears and they fight. But this time, Scott loses. This is where the story changes drastically, and goes in a direction I wasn't expecting. This is what Brian Lee O'Malley was talking about, and I was very excited to see what came next. Scott Pilgrim gets kidnapped. He literally takes off, and that's not what I thought they meant when they titled the show that. And Matthew Patel takes over the League of Villains. After this point, it turns into a mystery show, a whodunit, which is literally the title of one of the episodes. And instead of Scott fighting the X's, Ramona is on a search to find out who kidnapped Scott. She becomes the main character, and we spend a lot of time with her, which is cool. We even get to see some character development, and not just with her, but also with the X's and the side characters. The episode with Roxy was amazing. Steven and Knives bond over music. Even young Neil gets his own time to shine.
What the f is wrong with you niggas?
One thing I disliked about the plot, a lot of the show just felt wasted. Without Scott, there's really no point for the League, so the X's just end up doing their own things, like starring in a movie about Scott Pilgrim's life, running away from the paparazzi, becoming depressed and destroying your girlfriend's house, finding out that you're actually gay.
Why are you gay?
By the way, this episode made me motion sick, with the camera constantly shaking, and I had to stop watching. What I'm trying to say is, this all feels like a wasted time to the main plot. Half of the time, I felt like some of the scenes were way too long, or just kind of pointless, like a bunch of the characters just fucking around. I mean, it wouldn't be an issue for me if the entire show was like this from the start, like if every episode was like regular show or something, and it's the characters getting into different wild situations every episode. But if you establish a storyline like this, you probably shouldn't spend half of the show messing around. And if I wasn't already a huge fan of this universe, I could see myself, or a new first-time viewer, getting bored. Let's talk about the music. It's okay. I didn't really like the opening at first, but it grew at me.
What did he say?
It grew on me. What the fuck? I really enjoyed the few Sex Bomb performances we got, and the short black sheep part. There's the scene when Evie Adams first appears, and she gets out of the limo. I don't know what song that was playing in the back, but it's a damn banger. There is one song that I didn't like at all, and it's the one that plays in the beginning of the 4th episode, titled Whatever. This song is just annoying as hell, and to be honest, I didn't really even like this episode. There were also some parts that had no background music where I felt like there should have been, and it made some of the scenes feel weird. Besides that, the background music was decent. I know I probably shouldn't be comparing it to the movie, but I missed the fantastic music by Nigel Godrich, Beck, and the many others who were selected by Edgar Wright. Speaking of him, I want to know exactly what he did in the show. I mean, yeah, he's the executive producer, and I understand he's not the showrunner or the director, but I feel like whenever Edgar is a part of something, you can tell. Like whenever you watch one of his movies, you know it's an Edgar Wright movie. He just has a unique way of making things. I'm guessing he probably didn't have much to do with the script or editing, and I was hoping to see his work in this, but I couldn't really spot it. The show really picks up in the last 2 episodes once Scott returns. I mean, I still think the whole plot is kinda weak. They didn't do much with Matthew Patel's storyline. He just ends up giving the Empire back to Gideon. And with Gideon's story, he just becomes depressed and then evil again. It would have been nice to see Gideon have a rematch against Matthew in order to get his stuff back, not just hand it over. The entire older Scott story wasn't very interesting to me. I feel like maybe they could have just made him Nega Scott or something. You know, I would have liked to see that. I might sound like I hate this show, but I don't. I really do enjoy most of it. You know, being able to spend more time with these characters again. Seeing them in a new light and in different situations was awesome. And I loved all the callbacks and Easter eggs in the show. And at times, this show is great. But like I said before, Scott is a huge reason why I love the movie and comics. He is the main character. And I think having him absent for half of the show kinda ruined it for me. But I am grateful, it's better than nothing. I don't know, maybe I set my expectations too high. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is my favorite movie, and I tried to separate the show from the film and the comic, and judge it on its own. But there's just too many flaws, and I think it could have been way better than what it is. It needed more episodes and more Scott, and I would have liked if Edgar Wright was more involved in the script and editing process. But good news for us, I think the last scene of the show teased a possible season 2, so if that ever happens, my So, that's what I thought of the show. I give it like a 5.5 out of 10, maybe a 6 out of 10. Please, let me know what you thought of the show, if you liked it or not, or if you disagree with anything that I said. What would you like to see in season 2? And subscribe. I'm almost at 500 subs. Well, that's it. I'm gonna go cry. I love you all, and I'll see you all soon in the next video.